Ladies and gentlemen, today I'm glad to introduce you to a talented, inquisitive, incredible journalist, which opens the backstage of world stars for us and will honestly tell us about their choice, who knows everything about everyone, and will share it all with us. Caroline Ashion.
Oh, I'd like to know the answers to everything. Or know someone who knows all the answers. Because it seems our world is exploding right before our eyes. And you and I are watching everything live. It's like watching a Hollywood movie. They say that our life goes on precisely because there is a balance between good and evil. But recent events make us wonder, is everything in order with our world and its balance? Russian-Ukrainian war, the war in the Middle East. What's next? Israel's declared war against Hamas is the #1 topic. The world is divided in its attitude to the events in the Middle East. Is Israel's desire to destroy Hamas illegal? Why do so many Muslims support Palestine? Until October 7th, 2023, the last rocket war with Gaza lasted 10 days. It was in May 2021. Then it was possible to reach a truce thanks to the mediation of Egypt. No one knows how it will be this time. So, whose side is the world on?
Watch this.
The events of the past 2 weeks in Israel and the Gaza Strip have sparked a wave of protests around the globe. Supporters of both Jews and Palestinians take to the streets of cities in different continents. Not a day goes by without reports of protests around the world. Probably the most active rallies on the European continent are in France. The country is home to large communities of both Jews and Muslims. On Monday, October 9th, demonstrators with blue and white Israeli flags took to the streets of Paris. People chanted, "Israel will win" and "Free the hostages." Some of them are convinced that the conflict is not because of religion, Palestine or Islam. The barbarians, criminals and murderers who have lost their souls are Hamas.
I'm not sure I'm optimistic about the future because violence leads to more violence. It's sure that Israel will want to defend itself, try to annihilate the Hamas, but is that possible?
October 14th, Paris is also in these shots. Hundreds of demonstrators gathered in the square to signify solidarity with Palestine. They chant freedom for Palestine and Israel, the killer. The police intervened in the protests. Solidarity rallies with the Palestinians began to be banned because there were calls for support for Hamas. The protests had to be dispersed using tear gas and water cannons. This is Cologne. Heumarkt Square, supporters of Israel and Palestine hold rallies at different ends of the same court. The police heavily guarded the events. Fortunately, there were no clashes. In Berlin, stars of David began to appear in the walls of houses where Jews live. This is a symbol that Jews were forced to wear during the Holocaust so that they could be easily distinguished from the rest of the population. The Nazis forced Jews to wear a distinctive sign to isolate and persecute them. France and Germany are frightened by the growth of anti-Semitic sentiments. The police increased the protection of places where Jews live or gather. For example, schools and synagogues are under protection. There are security guards at the homes of some members of parliament who are either connected to Israel or support it. London witnessed a demonstration of solidarity with Palestine. There are hundreds of people gathered in front of the headquarters of the BBC. Earlier, the entrance to the building was covered with red paint. Who did it and why is unknown, but we know that the British public broadcaster refused to call the militants of the Hamas group terrorists.
5, 6, 7, 8! Israel is a terrorist state! From the river to the sea! Palestine will be free! Now!
What do we want?
Justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Justice!
On Lafayette Square, across from the White House, pro-Palestinian demonstrators demanded a ceasefire from Israel and accused the administration of US President Joe Biden of fueling the conflict with its full and public support for Israel. They called for an end to the genocide in Gaza. They held banners with the inscriptions, "The State of Israel does not represent world Jewry." Judaism condemns the State of Israel and its atrocities. A slightly different nature of the demonstration in Arab countries, in Kuwait, Iraq, Qatar, Iran, Syria, Jordan, Tunisia, Algeria, and Yemen. People are taken to the streets in support of the action of Hamas. In Islamabad and Peshawar, thousands of people chanted anti-Israeli slogans and emphasized their solidarity with the Palestinian people. Pakistani authorities have said that Hamas has applied for financial support and will receive this help.
Watch this.
Our next guest today is a Floris Boccanegra, artist from Belgium. So Floris, my first question, undoubtedly, our world has faced so many challenges we didn't have for decades, and nobody knows what is around the next corner. Isn't it scary? And what is your biggest concern in the current situation as an artist?
Well, it's definitely it's escalating. I thought that when Russia invaded Ukraine, it was already very scary, but now that on top of that you also have an ongoing war in Gaza that could destabilize and drag the whole region into another war. It feels like so many things are going on at once, and it feels like the situation is going a little bit out of control, and that's something that I, in my young life, have never experienced before. Luckily, I mean, it's safe for me to say I'm here, safe and well in Brussels, but you can definitely see that there are a lot of things going on in the world, in Europe, the Middle East. So yeah, it's very turbulent times.
Yeah, as far as I know, Brussels has a large Muslim community. The city is very, very international. And what is happening now on the streets? Tell me, please.
Well, there was a terroristic attack. There was a football match, I think it was Monday or Tuesday, Belgium-Sweden. And because Sweden, there were, like in the past, a lot of demonstrations against migration, against Muslims. They did a lot of burnings of the Quran, and because of that, a lone terrorist decided it was a good idea to murder 2 football supporters on the streets. Because of that. So it's in moments like that you feel that the violence is not that far away. It's getting pretty close when you hear something like that.
So I will not ask you whom you support in the conflict in the Middle East, of course, but why do you think it's essential for people to know what celebrities, well-known people, think about the current situation? What do you think?
Well, I think the whole situation, it's like in English, it's called like a hornet's nest. It's so complicated, so complex, I think. And even if you would study the whole topic in depth, it's still not so easy to just say this side is wrong and the other side is on the right. And when it comes to like celebrities taking sides, I think it's brave because, I mean, for example, our national goalkeeper, Thibaut Courtois, is from Real Madrid. he's married to an Israeli woman. So he posted something in support of Israel, and then his whole Instagram was bombarded. And then you have other football players who posted some posts supporting the Palestinian case, and then they were cancelled or reprimanded because of that. So it's and I truly believe that both parties, when they give their support, it's not that necessarily that they don't support the other cause. I mean, when you ask me, I mean, I have no. I mean, my point of view is that I think it's horrible what happened during the Hamas attack, but it's equally as horrible as what is going on in Gaza, the killing of civilians. It's wrong on both sides, but it's way more complex than that. It's not black and white, it's gray. It's like 70 shades of gray. And I actually don't feel in a right position to give like a proper opinion on it, because, as I said, I think it's very important to read up about the whole history. Why do things happen the way that they did? And even then you can say, okay, this side in this situation is the victim, and in another situation, the other side is a victim. It's so complex, and it's extremely tragic, and I have no idea how in the near future this whole situation could be resolved, if it can be resolved. I mean, it's,
Yes, I see. So be careful, my next question starts with the words. Artists are people driven by the tension between the desire to communicate and the desire to hide. By the way, this phrase I took from your Instagram. Does our turbulent time promote creativity, or, on the contrary, deprive you of the opportunity to be heard?
Well, at the moment, I mean, I did an art project in Kiev, which was inspired by the war. But when we're talking about the current war in Gaza, I have no current project, and I'm not inspired to do something specific about the current conflict, because, as I said, it's too complex, and it's too hot to touch at this moment. But what I do see as other artists, and specifically cartoonists, people who make like these like cartoons in a newspaper, I think that a lot of cartoonists, and I think there are at least 4 or 5 in big newspapers, who also get reprimanded because they were they were accused of being anti-Semitic because they were inspired by the conflict. They made a cartoon about it, for example, about Netanyahu, and all of a sudden they were treated with like, yeah, you're an anti-Semitic because you criticize the extreme right wing party of Israel. So that's something that I'm totally against. You either can make art about everything, or you can't make art about anything. There's the moment that you start saying, hey, you can't say this or you can't touch that subject, then you're in a situation that is not fruitful, and I'm not a fan of that at all.
But in general, if we are talking about artists, how important is it for artists to express publicly his opinion on military conflicts? Is it better to remain silent? Why?
No.
Okay, please.
Sorry to interrupt. No, I think if, as an artist, you feel the need to express yourself, by all means, do so. I mean, I think when it comes to war, like say the war that is going on in Ukraine, all the ways of putting attention towards the war and to show the incredible difficulties that Ukrainians, the soldiers, the civilians have to endure. That's all good. The only tricky part is, as an artist, that you have to make sure that you don't become a part of like a propaganda machine. So it's really have to do like an exercise and balance where you respect your own view, but also make sure that you stay away of the pitfalls and become like a propaganda puppet. I think that can be tricky, but that's when you do it's called political art, although I don't really like that term. But basically, the moment that you do something about a problem or situations in the world, it's political. So you have to make sure that you find the right balance in expressing yourself in the purest way.
You know, the war in Ukraine, let's say, has shown that silence is not an option. The society also does not accept a position of neutrality, such as we are all for peace, I don't want people to die on both sides of the conflict. It requires a clear position from the artists. Why so? Why is it so important for people to know what their, shall we say, idols think about this or that?
Because we live in a world where, for example, people like Cristiano Ronaldo or I can't really think of another celebrity, like an actor, for example. They have a huge audience on their social media and followers. And the word follower, it says itself. People follow those people. They believe what they say, and it can be again tricky, especially. I mean, I don't think there's a single celebrity that is openly supporting Putin. I hope so. But when it comes to the Gaza war, it's a bit more polarizing. And frankly, like I said, I think it's way more important to do your proper research. Just go to Wikipedia, read a book about the history of a certain conflict, and inform yourself instead of blindly following the opinion of one individual. So that's my opinion on that topic.
Mm. We can see from the Arab-Israeli conflict that not all celebrities clearly say, I'm for Israel or I'm for Palestine. Some of them write carefully posts like, I'm for world peace. Should such public figures be cancelled? You know, there are lots of big discussion about cancel culture in the world.
Mm-hmm. Again, I think it would be justifiable if a big celebrity would be banned from certain events if that woman or man would publicly support Putin and say what he's doing is great, I support him. Of course, that's unacceptable. But again, when it comes to the Gaza war, it's way more complicated, and I think you can voice your support, but I think the words that you use are very important. You can't just say I support Israel or I support Palestine. I think you have to be more specific than that. You have to basically already say, okay, I really deny the violence of the terroristic Hamas movement. But again, we live in a world where long answers, people don't like that. They just want to have a short short titles like I support Palestine or I support Israel, but I mean, you have to be way more specific in your support, and that's just something that one is not gonna happen. And also requires already an in-depth knowledge of the whole situation itself. So it's very tricky, but with this conflict, I don't think that celebrities, whoever they may be, should be cancelled because, frankly, I think most of the times these people, just like myself, have not a very in-depth knowledge about the conflict. And I need to say and add that by saying this, I don't necessarily say I support Israel or I support Palestine. I just hope from the bottom of my heart that they find a solution where both states can coexist and that the whole bloodshed can stop. I mean, that's my opinion, and I'll repeat it for as long as I have to.
I think that such people like you have to, let me say, use this time to accumulate your energy and to think about everything what is happening right now, and then sometimes, maybe in near future, you will reveal your art, new art. Who knows?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's exactly how I work. I have I have a certain situation that I'm interested in, and I always try to find a way to visualize a problem that I see in the world, and it always starts with understanding the problem. So it means like studying about it, reading, catching up on it, and when I think that I fully understand the situation, then I can think of a creative way of how can I visualize this, how can I make a sculpture or an installation with this. That's how I work. But again, it starts with having a good understanding on what I'm working about. Otherwise, you can never be credible if you make like stupid mistakes or if people ask questions about work and you're unable to answer them. I think it's very important. So like educating yourself on the topic, very important.
Okay, Floris, thank you very much for your very interesting and deep answers. And we are waiting for you in Ukraine, of course. So thank you very much for this conversation, Floris. Bye.
My pleasure. And stay safe. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Watch this.
In the 21st century, sports, film, and music stars have, without exaggeration, a global influence on audiences worldwide. The tool is primarily social networks. The war in Israel was no exception in promoting certain narratives among the stars. Some openly took the side of Israel. Some support Palestine, but some maintain neutrality or refuse, thereby exposing themselves to criticism and a portion of hate from subscribers who go to the comments and demand to take one side. It is already the reality. Hollywood actress Wonder Woman Gal Gadot, from the first minutes of the invasion of the Palestinian group Hamas on the territory of Israel, which has Israeli roots, spoke out in support of her homeland. I support Israel, and you should too. The world cannot sit by while these horrific acts of terror take place, Gadot wrote on Instagram. The star posts information about the kidnapped and missing on social networks daily. The network talked about the fact that the actress herself can take up a weapon because 16 years ago, Gadot served in the rank of the Israel Defense Forces. The future star spent 2 years honing her military skills and was a combat instructor. Let me remind you that Israel is one of the few countries where women must do military service. For them, it lasts 2 years. For men, 2.5. Russian journalist Ksenia Sobchak, who left Russia after the full-scale invasion of the Russian Federation into Ukraine, has an Israeli passport and calls Israel her second homeland, has already announced that she will not go to war. And all because, according to the country's law, only persons under the age of 40 can be mobilized into the army. And Sobchak is already 41 years old. That's a shame. But back to Gal Gadot. This actress received a lot of hate and tens of thousands of angry comments for supporting Israel. However, she did not give up her position. But the influencer Kylie Jenner, who also published a post supporting Israel on Instagram, deleted it within a few hours. An Israeli flag appeared in Kylie's stories for a while, but didn't stay there long. Due to user pressure, the model was forced to delete the post. After all, her subscribers who support Hamas began to unfollow her and leave Palestinian flags in the comments. They also called for a boycott of its products in Arab countries. Currently, Kylie, who has almost 400 million followers, is silent and publishes only her cosmetics. It's necessary to explain here, Jenner is a friend of Bella Hadid, whose father is a Palestinian. Hadid has always supported her homeland, but this time she is silent, and for this she is also hated. But her sister Gigi did not remain silent. True, the supermodel published only one post on Instagram and closed the comments on it. Gigi wrote, "My thoughts are with all those affected by this unjustifiable tragedy and with each passing day that this conflict takes the lives of innocent people, far too many of them children. I deeply sympathize with the struggle of the Palestinians and their lives under occupation, and this is a responsibility I bear every day." At the same time, she feels responsible for her Jewish friends and that her hopes and dreams for the Palestinians do not involve harming Jews. The model emphasized that terrorizing innocent people does not agree with the idea of the Free Palestine movement and does not bring it any benefit. Last year, Gigi faced criticism after an Instagram post comparing the suffering of Ukrainians due to the Russian invasion to the suffering of Palestinians in the conflict with Israel. I'm not the only host of this show, so I have a friend, and I hope he will help me. This is AI, and my question is, tell me please, what role do idols play in the lives of fans?
Idols play an important role in the lives of their fans and can influence them in various ways. Inspiration: idols inspire their fans to achieve their own goals and excel in specific areas, such as music, sports, or community involvement. Support: a sense of community and support often develops among fans who unite around their idol. This is particularly important when fans are facing difficulties. Self-identification: fans may identify themselves with their idol and feel that they are part of a community. Knowledge: fans learn more about their idol, their work, and values, which can contribute to their personal development and education. Joy and satisfaction: supporting an idol can bring joy and satisfaction to fans through attending concerts, events, or consuming products related to the idol. Social relationships: fans may find new friends or communities with a shared interest in the idol. However, it is essential to remember that idols are public figures, and their lives may include private aspects. Fans should respect the personal privacy of their idols and exercise a considerate approach to their support.
Watch this.
Our next guest today is Borys Drozhak, entrepreneur, principal engineer, inventor. Borys, thank you for taking the time to talk with us today.
Hello there, thank you for having me.
So, what advantages and disadvantages of using social networks affect the public position and international relations? What do you think?
Oof. So, like, we all know that there is some sort of cyber war always involved in or a war state, which we are as a country today, or even like just economical, competitive or economical wars. So, first of all, if you're not using some sort of media information flow, you're losing voices, and share of voice is one of the known factor, and in just product, building, competing, and of course in politics. So if you're not using social media, it's like you just lose. That's it.
How do social media influence mass consciousness and perception of important world events, including wars and conflicts?
I would say what I found in social media is different from just TV or magazine, or, like some specific programs or TV shows, that it involves other people you might trust. Because you see some news shared by your friends, or like commented by your friends, or liked by your friends. It has a bit different effect on people. And it's probably why it's more effective so far.
What do you think? How can social networks or social media serve as a means of mobilizing and organizing the public on important social issues?
So I would tell you, as an influencer who has quite a big audience, so people can use it in different ways, right? If you're media, it costs money to be spread along, can be on television and all of it. In social media, it's much cheaper. If you have charisma, you have even educational content, people might listen to you and your opinion on different topics, including today, right? You might saw me or find me as an expert because someone saw me on TikTok, just an example, right? So influence in this case propagated so far. So like you kind of like, as an influencer, can see the power. Like you can, of course, mobilize people, or you can just show your sea, a beach outside your window because you showing like your life in a good way. And of course, like today for our country, as an influencer, for me was important to mobilize some of the people who are interested in what I'm doing, helping. So like, as an example, today I do some of the developing inventions for army, and you can just find people who is interested as well, and you can collaborate. And I see it's the most powerful. I'm not seen as a propaganda place, but for people who can do something together.
What do you think? Is it become harder to mobilize people to support Ukrainian forces in the beginning of the Russian invasion, full-scale invasion in Ukraine, or now after the 1.5 years since the war started?
So of course it is harder, but I would divide it by, it's harder to do the same things. It's harder to just ask for gathering money because it's been for years with no serious effect. But it's not that hard if you mobilize people to do some sort of action. So I would say once I needed some of the IT folks to help me on some of the projects for free. It's their time. It's the most paid people. It would cost much more than most of the gathering money places ask, and they would do, because there is difference. You actually create something you can tangibly touch. You can see effect if you do developing of something important. So I would say just choose a different way to influence.
Yeah. How does the information war in social media affect international conflicts and relations between countries?
So of course we have to add more dimensions and angles. People may follow a government agenda, may not. A government might have a strong opinion on something, might not, which is also a trick. Like some countries make a neutrality, even for Ukrainian case, and ensure that public also has sort of neutrality and not losing, support later on from both countries. So it's kind of like interesting to see that government can mobilize us as citizenship and patriots to think in certain way, but of course they're going to be luck, there are going to be different opinions. You never see same people, we will never see same people if it's more than 10 people in the same room.
And my next question is, how can you ensure the responsible use of social networks in the context of information wars and manipulation activities?
I'm actually, as a blogger, making a lot of, I would say, educational content about algorithm, in different social algorithms. People need to be aware about that they're more affected by negative content, that they are more effective by things which are contradicts because they make more comments. So if you hate something, by default, you will comment some like, I hate it. By this, you will promote this content versus the content you like. And most probably the content you like, you just even scroll without a like. And this information is important. But the thing I would tell here, which is even more probably important, and it's considering latest conflicts and how Ukrainian society is reacting, even on war in Israel and Palestine, all of us should understand that we have kind of lack of information. Not all information come to us at the right time, and might be that we see here something too fast or too slow and make incorrect conclusions. So be patient. There's lots of disinformation, misinformation, and manipulative information in a right way, which make your opinion a bit not even about unprofessional, but too emotional, which makes you look bad.
Now, how does the development of new technologies affect the evolution of social media or networks and their role in solving global problems, including wars?
That's one of the most interesting topic, considering I'm an engineer. So the more it's automated, the more tools you have to play war. Nuclear weapon didn't stop wars, right? None of the tools in our life stop wars. So none of them are going to help with this, but most probably to help. And one of the interesting example, it's a Telegram, where people can set, emojis. Interestingly, that you can use bots to set those images. And people consciously thinking that, okay, the content itself could be manipulated. It could be like that this channel is pro-Russian, for example, or pro-Ukraine, and you're in a safe place. And then you go below, you go in the comments and you understand, okay, it could be bots that are commenting. But the thing is, you might not understand that even likes could be manipulated. So you think, in a way you think, that it's good content, people react in a certain way, but it's also manipulation. So be aware that the more we have technology, the less they are regulated in a smart way, very nuanced way, the more ways to do it.
Interesting, crazy. Which social network or social media have the greatest influence on the geopolitical situation and world events? What do you think?
I see. I would not look from this angle because it's not answering it's not giving us information to do what to do, right? Will be Twitter. Most people will say, okay, it's Twitter because more people there. But each social media has its own flair, its own community and guidance. And in certain way, people behave there, see news. So you might see Twitter is more powerful because more people engaging in a political fights. Or you see Facebook as a place for toxic discussions. But in reality, all of them see news, and everywhere people spread the propaganda or even like through good educational content, for example. So I would look a bit differently and see for what social media we should change a bit guidance so people not behave in certain way. Because I see some people only in a Facebook, and I would like them to move a bit, for example, to TikTok, change their mind, their bubble. That will help. And future, the most powerful, those which are not regulated. That's always going to be like that. The less bots there, the more powerful they will be.
My next question is, what strategies of innovative social networks can promote cooperation and dialogue between countries in conflict situations?
Yeah, if I understand you correctly, kind of like what technological, strategic toolings, features, and policies can help us to make a brighter future, right? So in this case, I would say most important is verification of humans, verification of trusted humans and experts, ratings for those people, and proven system to ensure bots are not manipulate any of human science, like likes, comments. Of course, it's hard. It's a very serious challenge, to be honest. But I guess if we stop allowing API access, things like that for a just user, but only for user with certain auditory and they verified, they pay for that, then might be we make it less. And probably we need laws for ensuring if someone using their API for creating bots, we probably need to do something like at least administrative type of law.
How can intelligent development provide greater security and transparency in social networks in the context of global challenge?
I guess it's gotta be I would say as an entrepreneur. I have my own restaurant, and in this restaurant people might change, and the way they behave might the way the whole restaurant behave might change because we change some of the team members. And what I do, I kind of building a system with knowledge, which could be spread back and could be populated with new people. So my team and community in a restaurant is smarter. So I would call that we need a creation of intelligent base like this, where any person can be learned how to behave in social media, how to interact with media and information there in some certain way. Of course, each of the government, country will need to have influence on people. There is not going to change it. Let's not be, unrealistic. But at least we can make people smarter.
Borys, I know that you are inventor of a special machine, the Minin machine, which will help our soldiers on the battlefield. Could you please tell us more about this project and its successful project? So tell us more about it. It's very interesting.
We're still on the way. Yeah, thank you very much for bringing it up. We're still on the way. It's early stages. People who just, maintaining cars, and a guy from army, get back to home. We got an interesting idea from people on the front and started realizing it. And we found kind of like a breach in a way we do war with mines and, counter-offense. And we found that we actually can build a machine which will demilitarize, probably the right word, mines which act against people, not against big, like tanks and BTR. So like we built a very small machine which makes sure that people those people who deactivate mines can safely go, as well as anyone as a usual soldiers. So it's kind of like you can run a little thing which will not be killed by mines, ensuring that anti-tank mines are left, not detonated, giving us chance to make a successful, counteroffensive on a certain land, while anti-mining people can deactivate the rest, and our big machines can also move forward. So we're kind of in an interesting spot. If it all works well, we found a little trick to be fast on the front.
I keep my fingers crossed. So, and I wish you good luck in your job, in this, especially in this project. And thank you for being with us today. Thank you. Thank you very much, Borys.
You take care.
Watch this.
Madonna is on the side of Israel. The American pop star wrote on Instagram, "My heart goes out to Israel, to families and homes that have been destroyed, to children who are lost. I know this is Hamas work, and many innocent people in Palestine do not support this terrorist organization." On October 14th, Madonna gave her first concert in London as part of her world tour. She addressed the audience from the stage.
All of us are suffering, watching what's happening in Israel and Palestine. It breaks my heart to see children suffering, teenagers suffering, elderly people suffering. Unite in a dark and evil way, or we can unite from a place of light and love. And if we all have that collective consciousness, we can change the world, and we can bring peace, not only to the Middle East, but all over the world.
I want to add that Madonna supported Ukraine at the same concert. The singer appeared on the stage with the Ukrainian flag. Madonna did it to the song "Don't Cry for Me, Argentina" from the famous musical Evita, and ended the performance with the words, "No fear." After the full-scale invasion of Russia into Ukraine, many Ukrainian stars took up arms and signed up for the Teroboron or armed forces. The leader of the Boombox band is an attack drone pilot and performs combat missions in the south of Ukraine. Rapper Yamak and his brother formed his air reconnaissance unit at the beginning of the war. Last September, they transferred to the Special Operation Forces. Alexander Yamak is now the commander of the Kamikaze Drone Operator Unit. Zhenya Galic, the leader of the Otorvald Group, is returning to the front. His team was on rotation. The musician wasted no time and actively gave concert and helped the Ukrainian army.
Watch this.
Okay, guys, with us in the studio, the person who has already done much for the Ukraine. Wardrobe stylist, costume designer, image creator, fashion designer, and activist, Frank Wilde. I know there is a vast Russian community in Germany, of course, in Berlin also. Do you feel sort of hate from pro-Russian citizens on your social networks or when you are on the streets? What do you think?
To be honest, on the streets, no, I don't feel it. I don't feel it. I mean, there's of course we have a huge Russian community in Berlin, but I think the Russian community here, because they have access to information and everything about the war, they're more or less quiet, and they know that Russia is doing a horrible thing. And I never got attacked by Russians. I sometimes get strange looks by Russians when being on the U-Bahn or something, and I'm wearing a pro-Ukrainian shirt. They give me a look, but that's pretty much it, actually. And the Russians I personally know in Berlin, no, none of them has attacked me. They have a different view on things, and most of them at least, and they're not that black and white that I am about it. But no, I don't have problems. Online, it's a different thing. I got a lot of really ugly messages, and that was more or less like a year ago when I got featured on Russian television as a bad example of Western decadence and gay lifestyle, and it was really ugly. It was really like bashing me, and they stole pictures from Christopher Street Day, from whatnot. And I actually was surprised that they take the effort to promote somebody who's a private person and is doing what he's doing. And at that point of time, and didn't even pose that Russia is a terrorist state. I was just like really supporting Ukraine, and they're really ugly. I mean, look at this freak. That's the only friends Ukraine has, and everything referring to the stuff I was wearing. And okay, I have to put this out because this is interrupting us. So sorry. So no, but that's pretty much it. I didn't get it further attack, and I hope it will stay that way, because I don't feel like I'm at war with every Russian or something. What I'm doing is actually a different thing. Yeah.
So I'd like to know what does Berlin look like these days? What do people say about the situation in the Middle East? What do people say now about Ukraine? All this situation, current situation in the world, because it looks like the world is crazy. Everything is online, and we are just like watching the Hollywood film.
Yeah, it's actually almost a week. It's really, really depressing to watch the news, and I'm normally a freak for news. So every morning I wake up, it's the first thing that I read the news, what's happening, and whatnot. And I even came to the point where I say like, no, I don't want to watch the news anymore, because it's so heartbreaking what's going on in the Middle East. It's like so terrible that I don't actually that I decided for myself in a way. I have my position, but I want to keep out of it, because I need to concentrate on my work for Ukraine, and this is very close to my heart. And also, it's in these days, of course, it sounds cynical, but there's like a war fatigue happening. I mean, the war has been going on for over 1.5 years, and lots of people are like, it's enough now with Ukraine. And then you have now the huge conflict of Israel-Palestine that's totally like blowing out of proportion and is really a threat to world peace. And so Ukraine got a bit out of the focus in news, and which I think is terrible because the war's not over, and Russia is terrorizing Ukraine every single day. I mean, I don't know if you watched the news about that, but Russia is really attacking Ukraine every day. Civilian places, killing babies, mothers, and whatnot. And it looks to me like at the moment nobody's watching it anymore. It came in the news on the second page, and this is something we shouldn't allow because the war's still going on, and this war Ukraine has to win. Ukraine never chose the war, but all Ukraine is doing is defending its country and its citizens. And we have to understand that this war must be won by Ukraine. And I'm 100% it will be.
Well, there is another topic I'd like to discuss with you because, as I told you, and everybody knows, these huge challenges and like our world is divided, and very essential, I think, for many people is just to know the point of view of someone who are very famous, well-known. Why is it so crucial for people to check the clock with well-known people about events like war, let's say?
With well-known people about what?
Why is it so crucial for people to check their clock with celebrities about events like war? Because some of them, you know, they close the comments, they make some caption, and they don't want to face with huge... They don't want to be criticized by people, you know? Yeah. But for people, it's very, very important to know what celebrity think about anything, especially if we are talking about war.
You always have to keep in mind that we have a very strong Russian propaganda in Germany, in the whole of Europe, but in Germany especially. You know, and in Berlin, we still have the Russian embassy functioning. Then we have the Russisches Haus that claims to be a cultural place or whatnot, and is used for propaganda. You know, Germany has a history of a lot of economical bondings with Russia, and Germany also has a history when when Crimea was occupied in 2014 to look away and to like, okay, but the Russians are friends, so we turn a blind eye, and all of this comes together, and then you have, if you go on Twitter and read what the Russian embassy is posting, you have the feeling that the NATO is having a war against Russia. You know, I mean, there's so much bullshit and lies going on, and the thing is that a lot of people believe that because they don't refuse to believe the cruelty of the war. They refuse to believe that it's possible that children get kidnapped by Russians, and it's a huge issue, actually. They believe that, they refuse to believe that women are raped, civilians are beheaded, and whatnot. And actually, they all have their private things, and say, like, it's not my war. And also, you have to keep in mind that a lot of Germans still regard Ukraine as some post-Soviet country. They don't have a connection with it, and they don't realize that Ukraine is actually Europe, and Ukraine belongs to the European family as much as Moldavia, Romania, Bulgaria, Poland, and whatnot. And they always underestimate the importance of these countries. In my case, it's a bit different because I've been working a lot in Eastern Europe for the last 15 years. So I know about the people, and I know about how Europe changed and about the power that Eastern Europe has. And I'm very connected with Ukrainians, so I kind of fell in love with the whole country, and they see the huge potential and the creative power and the cultural heritage and everything. So I know and understand what Ukraine is defending and what Europe is to lose if Ukraine loses the war. This makes a difference, I think.
Thank you very much for everything you've done and for everything you're going to do for our country.
Media is extremely important in these days because it's an information war as well, and there's so much stupidity going on, and we have to focus on what's important and
yes, it's very important. You do a great job. You do a great job. It means a lot.
Thank you so much. I'm very inspired by Ukraine.
Yeah, we see.
I would say that to my friends: learn from Ukraine.
That's perfect.
Look at what
sounds
people
great.
are doing.
Thank you very much, Frank.
Watch this.
That's all for today. Thank you very much for being with Talk for More Life. My name is Carmen Ashon, and I will wait in for your comments. Have a good one.